We hear it all the time. Is relapse really a part of recovery? Is all we have to look forward to in sobriety a bunch of relapses, getting on and off the wagon, trying to quit, maintaining a little bit of sobriety, going back out, and living this roller coaster life of hectic chaos and constant drinking? Well, today we're going to talk to you about that, and we're going to share with you what we've learned over the last combined 20 years of being sober. And we want to talk to you about what the mindset is like and what really stops us from relapse. Because to get a little personal, back when I was first trying to get sober and I went into a rehab, I remember I was terrified of relapse because I had thought in my mind, well, if I cannot relapse, I will stay sober forever. Right? It's a simple thought, kind of like, hey, if you quit drinking, you won't be an alcoholic anymore. And these kind of things were in my mind, and so I was obsessed with why do people relapse and how do I stop the relapse? And these were very important questions. And I went around in that rehab talking to every counselor I could about what is it that stops relapse and how can I avoid it. And today that's what we're going to talk about and share with you our thoughts on relapse being part of recovery, alcoholism, how to stop yourself from drinking even when it seems impossible, and what to do and how to live a new life. So, Terry, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. And for me, when I was going through rehab, I wasn't thinking about relapse. I was just trying to think of when do I get out and get to start my life. But, maybe that was part of the reason why I did. Technically, I relapsed after about a month out of rehab. And I actually don't look at it really so much as a relapse as maybe I wasn't quite done yet, or I hadn't hit a low enough bottom. That's what a lot of people think, is that they have to hit that low enough bottom or something like that. And for me, yeah, I just don't think I was quite done drinking yet. Alcohol was still in the picture, and I hadn't completely taken it out of the picture and made myself realize that I cannot drink. Alcohol is not an option anymore, and that's what it was for me. There's a lot of reasons people relapse, and I've looked into it quite a bit. You know what I see a lot is people will say that there's a reason why they relapse, and it can be as minor as I broke my shoelace or something silly like that, or just the frustrations throughout a day, and they just want to feel better, and maybe they think that alcohol is a good idea, or maybe it's something big, like maybe there was a crisis in the family or a job loss or something like that. And these are definitely common reasons that contribute to people relapsing. But I also know a lot of people that have gone through all these things and huge events in their life, and they did not start drinking again. They never felt that they had to take a drink. The alcohol was off the table for them, and they were able to succeed through these difficult situations and move on with life sober. And so it's really a difficult thing, and there's a lot of speculation as to why people relapse. And for me, it wasn't a negative situation that caused me to relapse. I was actually in a meeting, an alcohol meeting, and I thought about, I'm going to go get a drink. I feel like having a drink. It was that simple for me. And after the meeting, I went and I got a drink and I started drinking again. That's how easy that this can happen. And this could happen to anybody at any time, no matter how long they've been sober. And it just takes that one drink. At least for me, it would take one drink, and that's what I've convinced myself of, and that's why alcohol has to absolutely come off of the table. And I know, Marcus, that you didn't technically relapse, but like me, you probably during your time of trying to get sober, you went for times without drinking, and you swore that this was it, you were done, and that's what I went through too. Is that right? Am I
Yeah, I mean, with
telling that right?
me, it wasn't so much a relapse after rehab, because rehab, obviously, I stayed sober 30 days in a place where there wasn't any alcohol. Yay me, right? I mean, come on. Now, what I did do is I tried to do the work, but before that, I was chronically relapsing because every time we drink and get drunk, that is a relapse. And even when we drink, if we have made a resolve not to drink, and I found myself in the vicious cycle of constantly making promises to myself and everyone else. I'm not going to drink. This is the last time. And, I'd have that morning confessional where everything was going to be right. And I don't want to feel this way anymore. And by noon, I was already, a bunch of drinks in. And it was very difficult because it was chronic relapsing. And the reason is because I didn't understand what was going on. I thought the battle was between some mindset crap and I needed Tony Robbins or some guru to come over and tell me how to get sober and yell at me because that's what I needed. And we feel like here in America, for some reason, that we need to be yelled at to get things done. I don't know why the self-help industry is so full of people yelling at you and telling you what to do. And, in rehab, it was kind of the same. We had this big 60-year-old dude yelling at us. But that isn't what helped. Was it the tough love and the hammering in our brain of what was going on over and over that was the issue? Well, yes and no. I think more of it for me was the education in understanding how alcoholism worked, how recovery worked, how alcohol was in fact 100% of the problem. And until I realized that it was 100% of the problem, nothing was ever going to change.
Yeah, totally. And that's what the realization was for me as well, is realizing that alcohol was the problem. It wasn't anything else in my life that was causing the issues. It was the alcohol that was the first cause. And that's one of the biggest things for me as to prevent relapse is understanding that alcohol has no benefits whatsoever for me. In fact, I'd argue that it has no benefits for anyone, but I just have to speak for myself, and that's it. It doesn't do anything for me at all. And in fact, it will damage me. It's a chemical, it's a poison. Yeah. And it affects every part of the body in a negative way. And so I have to understand that. I have to take that down to my heart and realize that. And that's the first key for me. And the second key is just maybe there are triggers in life, but to understand that I don't have to take a drink because of that. And there's another side of this, and that I don't see a whole lot of conversations about, but I some people are talking about it, and that's that you go to the party and then you have this feeling that you're missing out because everybody else is having drinks, they're having a good time, and maybe that thought comes in that maybe things will be okay this time. And what happens a lot of times when people will relapse is they'll take that drink and nothing bad necessarily happens. Maybe, maybe they have a good time and they stop at 2 or whatever. And they're able to have some more drinks the following weekend or something. And they're like, hey, I got this. I'm okay. I can keep doing this. But what usually happens if somebody has become chemically dependent is it's just going to get worse. Sometimes it happens right away. I know a lot of people that when they've relapsed, and that was my case, is when I took that drink, I was full blown right away. I was drinking like I hadn't even stopped. And for others, it doesn't happen necessarily that quick. Maybe it takes a couple weeks, a couple months, maybe even longer, and they get back to where they were. But I will tell you one thing. I personally haven't met anybody that has at least had times of sobriety to where they realize that they can't drink anymore, and then they've started drinking again, so they've relapsed. I've never heard of anybody that said it was good, that it was okay, that life was fine. It's always been the horror stories that many of you have probably already heard. And that's the scary thing about it is, and that was the case with me. It just got worse. Got worse right away. It felt like I hadn't even stopped. And for a lot of people, when they relapse, even if they've stopped for a long time, it's like they never stopped. It just kept getting worse and worse, even though they weren't actually drinking for a period of time. It's scary stuff.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the things that has kept me sober is the fear of what's going to happen. Like I remember those days, and I remember in rehab they said we had a built-in forgetter. We have something that makes us forget all the bad, and it's a lot like a relationship. If you're in a toxic relationship, you have that friend that's in the toxic relationship, and they remember the good, but it's hard to remember the bad. I mean, they might have little things here and there, but they're not looking at it like, hey, you're being abused, you need to get out of this relationship. And with alcohol, it's the same way, where it's like, hey, you're forgetting the bad. I forget, going in the morning and checking the car to see, hey, did I run over anything last night? Which, I hated myself for drinking and driving. I still have a hard time with that. Or, what arguments did I cause? What did I do? How my OCD acted up? How I felt? These were things that I forgot so often. If I didn't forget them, I wouldn't drink. Right? I mean, if you really look at that, it's like if you went on a date with someone who was abusing you and they abused you right before the date, you'd probably leave. But unfortunately, alcohol waits till we're completely, inebriated before it starts doing all the major abuse on our brain. And, that's part of my fear is, what if I do drink again, and what if it's not okay? Or what if I drink again and it's okay for a month, 6 months, maybe a couple of years, and then I get right back where I was? What if I'm that person again, going out there and being anxious 24/7? I mean, I worked 10 years to be not anxious. And I'm going to give that up for a couple of drinks, which doesn't even give me that much benefit. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, let's say you get the effits, and you're like, I'm going to go drink because I got the effits. Is it going to help? Do the effits go away? No, you're just drunk, and now you have the effits and you have drunk, and then the next day you're going to be anxious, and you're going to make bad decisions about what you were having the effits about in the beginning. And when we start to look at life rationally, I spent a lot of time studying Stoic philosophy, different Eastern philosophies, and things like that, where life is not the way it is here. Here we focus on our emotions and our feelings and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I can feel like doing something. That doesn't mean I have to do it. Somewhere in our McDonald's-driven culture, we feel we need to have what we want right now because we want it. And if you're in my way, get the hell off the highway. You're driving too slow. I need to get what I want. But once you slow down and you say, well, do I really need to get what I want? And is what I want really what I wanted all along? Chances are you're going to think probably no. Because I remember before I got sober, I thought I wanted to have a business, be rich and famous, and have all this stuff. And now I look at it and I'm like, the 9 people who recognize me every 100 years kind of freak me out. So I think I'll be okay. I don't really want to be recognized everywhere. But I thought that was what I wanted. I thought I needed to have $200 million in the bank. And it's like, well, what am I going to do with that? Am I going to be any happier? They find that there's a threshold of happiness, and money doesn't really solve it. It does give you options for things, but it's not really going to solve the big problem. Unfortunately, the big problem is in us, and it is in our way of thinking. And when we relapse, a lot of it has to do with desire. Buddha always said that the root of suffering is desire. I'm suffering because I'm desiring something to be different. A lot of alcoholics, they suffer because they're desiring to be the drinker that can hold their liquor. Well, what if I just give all that up and I realize, well, I've had plenty of liquor for the next 400 people. I think I'm going to be okay. What if I start to think different and change the way that my mind processes things? Instead of going through life throwing temper tantrums about what I can and cannot have, what I can and cannot do, what if I just let things be and accept what is? And I think that's a big lesson. It's a difficult lesson, but once we learn it, then we can navigate these things. We look at it, we say, well, this bad thing happened. What am I going to do about it? This thing's going on. What do I do about it? And I find that my choices and my reactions and things that I do are much less impulsive and therefore wiser in the long run. It's not that I got any smarter. It's just that, when you're not drinking and you're not acting on emotion and impulse, things tend to be a lot different. And life slows down. You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, life just goes by. It's so fast. You don't even, if you blink, you're going to miss it. Well, what if I don't blink? What if I just chill out for a bit and let things be? What if I savor the moment? What if when I'm eating dinner, instead of trying to get through it, I enjoy it and I enjoy every bite and I enjoy breath and time with people and understanding and relaxing where I don't have to be on the hamster wheel constantly relapsing.
Yeah, you're talking about looking at life in a real sense. And for me, it's difficult. I see a lot of people in early sobriety that they have a difficulty looking at life in the way you're describing, and it is tough. In early sobriety, you're you still kind of thinking about when you were drinking that the highs were really high. You go to the party, it's woohoo, woohoo, and then when you're not when you finally stop drinking, you don't get those highs so much. You also don't get the low lows quite as much. You might, especially in the beginning of sobriety, because maybe you've caused some damage and there's a lot of things that you're trying to fix or that you have to deal with from your drinking days. But but those highs just aren't there, and it's difficult to attach yourself to that. So it takes work. It takes working on trying to see those things that you can savor, savoring every bite. Going for me is going on bike rides, and for the bike rides for me, I couldn't do very much, and it was difficult. And I wanted to go on the longer rides. I wanted to go on longer hikes, but I was physically pretty sick, so I had to really watch it. And there was a lot of boredom there as well, and that's one of the things that gets people too, is they've spent so much of their time drinking that they get sober, and all of a sudden there's all this time in the day. What do I do? Oh, the house is a mess. Oh, I could clean the house. I don't want to do that. That gives me no joy, you know. And life just doesn't look as exciting. But if you start to embrace those things, start to look for the joy in life, and start to be grateful for the little things that you have, even if it's just the fact that you're sober today, that tends to help and starts to direct the mind in a positive direction. And that's what I tried to do when I got sober. I also hung out with a lot of other sober alcoholics that would show me things that they do for enjoyment and for joy, and show me how to live in gratitude. And that's what did it for me. And I was able to find those highs. I get those. I get the joy. I get a lot more joy nowadays than I used to when I was drinking. While I was drinking, it was perceived good feelings. It wasn't good feelings, and then the negative feelings the next day were worse than anything I've experienced since, even though I've gone through a lot of negative situations in sobriety. And that's huge. And so, I wanted to hit a couple of comments, and I know Celtic Dave said one. He said, in the same way, Terry, from sober to 20 beers a night instantly. LOL, what happened to tolerance? And yeah, I just wanted to touch on that one real quick. And for me, tolerance stayed the same. And that's what I've found is with talking with other people is you stop drinking for a long time, your tolerance is the same, and it's dangerous, because drinking those 20 beers, that's not a good thing for your body. You don't ever want to be doing that stuff. And it's dangerous. Yeah. Let's see some of these other comments.
Luke says, ironically, I only drink when I have money. Well, that changes when you get down and you're like, okay, well, I drink when I have money, I drink when I don't have money, I drink when I'm happy, and I drink when I'm sad. I will tell you one thing that might help you from relapse. Being an alcoholic sucks. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Going through the thought process, the feelings, the physical pain, the mental confusion. I mean, the mental confusion is absurd. It sucks. It's basically 24/7. You don't know what's real, and you don't know, really, you're living in a dream world of your own making based on what you want, right? Because what alcohol does is it takes our base level down, and we start to act, oh, I need to get what I want. I'm going to go over there and get this. I want another drink. I want to get in an argument with this person. I'm going to go, hit on someone even though I got a wife at home or whatever it is. It's going to lower the things that are going on, and you're going to be living in a dream world, and it's really difficult. I remember, my grandma had this where she drank a lot for many years, like 50 years. And it was so deep that even when she got sober, even 10, 20 years sober, she still had the dream world. She still thought things happened that weren't. We're like, yeah, Grandma, you weren't the princess of the ball. There wasn't even a ball, and she would believe these things, and it was difficult. And watching how that tweaked her mind over time, and even in the short run, tweaked the mind in the short run. To me, it's not worth it. There is nothing that is worth drinking over, because I don't want to feel that way again. I don't want to be back in the trap of constantly having to drink to maintain a level of shitty feeling. And I was maintaining crap. It wasn't even good feeling. It wasn't even normal. I'm maintaining base level negative. Now I'm like, hey, I went to the gym today. I feel pretty good. Feel all right. A little bit tired. And, I went to bed at 2, woke up at 7, a little tired, but I'm okay. I'm all right. I got my coffee here. I'm going to go to lunch. I got my day planned out. I'm rationally thinking, and before it was hell. It's absolutely hell. We say it all the time where they say, church is for people who don't want to go to hell. Alcohol recovery is for people that went to hell and don't want to go back. And I'll tell you right now, if you want to go back, there's a one-way ticket, and it's called relapse. And once you understand these, it starts to give you power against the first drink. Because once we take that first drink, we're powerless over what it does to our mind and our body. You can't control it. It's chemical. Much like the doctor who gives you something to put you out, you're going to go out. I don't care who you are. Don't care how strong you are. Don't care if you were the guy at the gym that lifted the whole gym, right? You are going to go out if that chemical is meant to make you go out. It's what's going to happen. Alcohol, it's going to affect you the ways that it will affect you regardless of what you do. You're going to think you can beat it time and time again. You're going to have the battle. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, maybe I feel, maybe I won't. And it's already won. Why did it win? Because it's a chemical. Right? Like if I go out there and I try to drive, the wrong way, the other cars are going to win because, hey, they're going the right way. There's more of them. It's just a fact. But if I get in line and I say, I'm just going to go with the flow, I'm going to be all right. I don't need to drink today. And I say that every day, sometimes 20 times a day. Don't need to drink today. I'm going to be okay. Bad thing happened. I don't need to drink today. I'm going to be okay. And over time, you're going to build up a tolerance against the first drink. You're going to be able to say, hey, I don't want it. Even though what might have been an effort in first year sobriety might not even peak the radar 10 years down the road. Why? Because you are constantly saying, I will not drink no matter what. No matter how I feel, no matter what I think, no matter what goes on, I am not going to drink because I know what that leads to. Relapse is a guarantee. I know you're going to guaranteed go back into old ways of thinking, and you might not get out. You're playing with fire. You might not get out. A lot of people don't. That's why I didn't relapse. Terry's like, oh, you did something great. You got this mindset stuff. You took notes in rehab. Bullshit. I was scared to death of relapsing, so I didn't. I was terrified. The fear of relapse was bigger than the reward of drinking. And I took that with me, and that's what I do all the time. Sometimes I feel like it. Sometimes I'm like, hey, you know what? There's a bottle of rum in the cabinet. We were making some tiramisu or whatever, bread pudding. I could have that. Nobody would know. Nobody would care. But I would. I would know, and I would care. And my mind would tweak just a little bit. And
you would know, and you'd think it through too. You got that bottle of rum, there's definitely not enough. So then you'd have to go get more. Then you'd have to hide it. Then go on
cycle.
and on. And that's the key.
Yep. It starts the cycle. And funny enough that you say that there wouldn't be enough. I would probably guarantee that the way that I function, I would probably drink enough to put me in the hospital, just because I like it. Like I like it. I like the taste of rum. I know a lot of people are like, I don't like the taste of alcohol. I loved it. Everything but vodka, I loved it. You know, we look at it and it's like, okay, well, is it really going to help me? Is it really going to do this? No, it's not. It's not. And I'm terrified of relapse. So I'm not going to relapse because I'm terrified. And I know for a fact, if I don't have that first drink, I can't relapse. It's impossible to have the 10th drink. You can't start on 10. You have to start on 1. And if I can be strong enough to fight that 1, I'm good. Go to the bar, sit there, fight. Hey, there we go. And the cool thing is it's not even really a fight. It's like, yeah, you win. Okay, alcohol, you win. That's what you do. You get people drunk. That's what alcohol does. So I don't want to get drunk, so I ain't going to go have alcohol.
Yes, that's great points. Excellent points. It has to come off of the table. That's what it has to be in my life. Is I can't drink, and but you know, it's not a fight anymore, and that's what we talk about in our program and try to teach you, is that it isn't a fight. Alcohol did win, and I can't have it anymore, and I don't want it anymore. And that's the case for me, and that's where I get my successful sobriety, at least so far, is the fact that I just have no desire for it. It's neither here nor there. Other people drink, that's fine. Whatever. That's not up to me. But for me, I don't want it. It does me no good at all in my life. And yeah, it's not even so much well, sure, there's fear of relapse, absolutely. But for me, that's not even in the picture. I do have to stay aware that I cannot have alcohol and that I don't want to go back there. So I do have to stay aware of things and make sure I don't accidentally take a drink or something like that. And if that was to happen, I'd deal with it at the time, and hopefully I'd be able to just get right back on track. But either way, it's just not an option. That's the important thing for me. And if you are interested, head on over to talksober.com. We have a recovery class there, and it's a 30-day program. And there's videos and MP4s and MP3s there, and a letter for each day. You can go through it in 30 days. You can go through it and take as much time as you want. It's $27 a month to join, and it's a great class. It's what Marcus and I went through in our sobriety journey, and you can go on over to the sign-up page and put in your name and your email address and fill in all the other information and join. You can also get a private call with Marcus and myself if you want a one-on-one with us, and we can help start you or talk about your journey into sobriety. And we have a Facebook group you're welcome to join over at Talk Sober on Facebook.
Cool. Exactly. And you guys can go over there. Just click the yellow button if you want to sign up and help us out. Definitely helps out what we're doing here with everything. And, you know, good stuff to get you there. You got all kinds of info and things like that. Remember, we're not doctors or trained physicians or anything like that. We're just two guys who got sober, and it was difficult, and we learned a lot along the way. So head over to talksober.com if you want to support what we're doing and sign up. There's all kinds of cool stuff for you, Facebook groups and things like that. So really cool. If you guys got any questions, you can reach out to myself or Terry through the means on there. And as always, we're here every Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock. Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday. My brain's gone today. Tuesday, 11 o'clock. And yeah, a lot of good stuff. So thanks for being here, and we will see you next Tuesday. Have a good one,
Thank you, everyone. And thanks for all the regulars showing up every